Hello, John. Congratulations on the film. It's a very enjoyable a bit of horror there. So, in the film, you're playing a post-mortem photographer. So,
No, sir. No, sir. I am an investigative scientist.
well, starting off, you state yourself as that. So, did you go full method and go to autopsies and coroner's court and things like that?
No, dear boy. I went to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art and I was told to use my imagination.
Right. Okay. So no Stanislavski method then in this.
Oh, I've certainly, I did a bit of science in the sixth form, and I do remember some pretty disgusting little autopsies. Have you ever dissected a cockroach? Disgustingly smelling things they are. Almost off eating lobster for some time, because actually lobsters are actually members of the cockroach family, or is it vice versa?
So the device that your character invents in this, now I think it was called an atmosphizer. Don't know if I've got that right.
Yes.
Is that based on a real device or inspired by a real device from that era?
No. Look, it's an interesting era historically because it's still the era where an individual man of science could make a real contribution to science.
Yeah.
Science science has in one day killed God, in one way killed God, Mm-hmm. The great Darwinian thing that the Victorians suffer from is this belief that God is dead, that Darwin has shown that humans evolved rather than were created. And this, for some, means real despair. I mean, remember Hardy. Black is night's cope, but death will not appall one who, past doubting's awe, waits in unhope. I mean, that's pretty much as bleak as you can.
Yeah.
And yet there is a counter movement to that in that late Victorian period, which says, look, there is an invisible world. We know there's an invisible world. We've established that there is an ultraviolet, an infrared. Those young people in Paris are working on something which we're going to end up calling X-rays. Now, if there is a world beyond what we can see, then perhaps that is the spirit world. The fact that we can't see it doesn't mean it's there. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could talk to the spirits? Thus you have all these seances going on. I mean, Conan Doyle, for instance, still believing in fairies when he saw that photograph faked by two young girls.
Yes.
And yet it showed to him that there really were fairies as well. And in a way, that interest in the supernatural is part of being human, isn't it? I mean, is this all? Because we're intelligent, because we have a sense of time, because we have a sense of mortality, the question has to be, surely this isn't the end. Surely Rhys Davies, who now begins to understand how limited his understanding is, we're going to, it ends like that now, if not now, today, in a year or two's time, in senility and nothing.
Well, that kind of leads me to kind of a question I was going to ask you a little bit later, but do you have a belief in the afterlife or an afterlife, whatever that might be?
Personally, I don't think I do. Do I believe that? Do I believe that there is a lot that we don't know that may well concern information in the universe? And in a way, we are clusters of information. Is that information lost? On a personal point of view, I suspect yes. But do not expect me to give you answers to, the great mysteries.
Yeah.
Look, I think it is a legitimate scientific question to say, why should anything exist? Now, you could say that a scientific question is only a scientific one if you can find a way of refuting it. But I still believe that that is a legitimate question. And I think there are a number of questions that we do not know how we could begin to answer, yet I think are legitimate to raise. But I'm also very conscious of the fact that I am a person of very limited intelligence. I am completely innumerate. I can accept the fact that the quantum world and the Newtonian world may make some sense in an 8-dimensional universe, but I do not have the ability to begin to understand what that phrase, an 8-dimensional universe, means.
Yeah.
I can accept the notion that we may be a hologram, but I don't really understand what my acceptance means.
So going back to the film, The Gates now, the film, it's located within a prison. Now, I'm not sure whether it was a set or a location.
It was the old Cork prison.
Right. So the writer, Tim Reynolds, he has said that for his research, he went to a couple of well-known prisons, and that he very much got a feeling of an unsettling experience. And I'm wondering now, because it was a real location, from your point of view, from the other members of the cast and from the crew, were there any kind of experiences there which were along the theme or along the lines of what The Gates is about?
There are some people who are more finely tuned to what we would call the supernatural than I am. I tend to be a rationalist and a skeptic, but I do have a sense of wonder still. The imagination tells you that within those dire walls of confinement, there must have been whole Everests of misery and unhappiness. And you can imagine it. I mean, it's, for each man kills the thing he loves. Some do it with a kiss, some do it with a cruel word. It's the Ballad of Reading Gaol, as well as, in a way, we try and put the worst of our behavior and lock it up and try and keep it away from us, and probably never succeed. Were there, I think for some people, there was definitely a frisson of the unknown, a fearfulness in that atmosphere.
Yeah.
And the rationalist in me says nonsense. The more slightly sensitive person in me says, if only you knew how little you knew, you would not make that sort of nonsense statement. That's suitably unclear.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Well, look, we can't talk to you, John, without obviously the mention of the big film that's about to come out, which is obviously Indiana Jones. So it's the final one that Harrison Ford is doing. And
Well, you say that, but you know, it's Hollywood. Hollywood is not geared to any other principle other than, will it make money? And as long as there is money to be made, the possibility always exists. I mean, I do remember Steven Spielberg saying, the last crusade has that word last in it for a very good reason.
Yeah.
And that was 2 Indiana Jones films ago.
Well, well, this is the third one now that you've done. And if it is, I mean, yourself and Harrison are of a similar age. I'm
much younger than him.
If this is to be the last one that you will work on with Harrison, can you tell me about the last day on set you spent with him?
Oh, well, there's, you know, when you bump into actors that you worked with before, there's always a great hug.
Yep.
And a great a sort of a great amity and friendship. When you're young, competitive actors, you know, there's that slight sort of feeling, well, he's doing better than me and all that sort of thing. When you get to our glorious age,
yes,
you know, anybody who's survived, I mean, they don't even have to have survived in the profession. You welcome them, you embrace them, you look at them with that mutual sense of, aren't we bloody lucky? You remember him, God, he was so good, and where is he? There is that wonderful camaraderie that exists between actors. You know, we are still vagabonds. We are still really those people that irritate many wiser people. You know, you ask me for my opinion about the world, and I will give it to you, and I may be 21 years of age and know nothing about chemistry, biology, physics, politics, and be completely innumerate and have never read a book or traveled. And yet, because I am a young star, you think, you know, I feel that I'm entitled to give you the benefit of my, you know, there is that very irritating facet of celebrity that drives everyone mad, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, I look at Wales and I am troubled. But then I look at this country, I look at democracy itself. We cannot have democracy unless we have an educated electorate, an electorate that is aware and informed. We're entering into an age where information itself can be assumed to be false.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the probability of it being right is at the moment, yes, the stories we hear by and large are sort of right. But we're going to enter it within 6 months, 8 months, a year. We're going to be in the position of we cannot believe anything we read or write. We have the most glorious information system in the world. And what are we doing? Watching porn or specialized forms of cruelty. Did you see that extraordinary thing in the Times yesterday? And I think it's the BBC have found there's a group of people who pay good money to watch little animals being tortured.
Yeah.
Oh, the humanity. I mean,
doesn't bode well for the future, John, does it? Doesn't bode well for the future. But thank you very much for your time, John. It's been really interesting talking to you. The Gates is quite something. I did enjoy it, and hopefully,
do you believe we could we could develop the theme?
What, of the Gates?
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
You would look forward to a sequel of some sort.
Yeah, yeah,
or even a series of some sort.
yeah, yeah.
That's very generous of you to say. And look, let me come back to that last note of mine. Actually, wake up every morning and see the positive, and make it happen. Get out there and be good. Interestingly enough, there was a report the other day about depression. They found that better than any medication at all for people who are depressed was to do something helpful every day for somebody else, even if it's just saying hello to somebody and carrying their bag of groceries home, or any little thing like that. The antidote to misery, to menace, to inhumanity is humanity, is to be positive, is to be loving, is to be outgoing and generous and friendly.
Be kind. Hashtag be kind. Okay, thank you very much for your time, John. Very much look forward to seeing whatever you've got next in your what is quite an extensive catalogue of productions you've been involved in over the decades. Thank you.
We ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till you get to my movies.
Thanks, John. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.